Dragon fruit. I've been growing these dragon fruit, letting them root out. I've built my trellises, the new trellises. I've got the pots, I've got the materials. These are gonna go into those pots. Today on the Busy Gardener channel, I'm gonna show you how to plant your dragon fruit the right way. Dragon fruit 2.0, let's get busy. Going to pre-position these dragon fruit. Palora says hi. Isn't she cute? Hey, what kinds of dragon fruit have you tried before? Do you know the specific cultivars? Do you have a favorite? And do you prefer the red ones or the white fleshed ones? Put those in the comments. I'd like to compare notes with you. We're putting in 5 dragon fruit cultivars today. Condor, which I've propagated off of my existing Condor dragon fruit, and 4 others that I've gotten from Charles Malky and Kevin Espiritu. And so the 4 others, in addition to the Condor, which has just gotten crazy here, are the Red Laverne. Look at the growth on this thing. The Ecuador Palora, which is that amazing rare yellow skinned dragon fruit, the Sour Patch, which is doing really well here, and this American Beauty from Charles Malky. And look how established this thing is. These are all ready to be trellised up and to be going toward the sky, towards space. The dragons are taking flight towards space. Let's talk about the pots. Hey, if you watch my Dragon Fruit Trellis 2.0 video, you know why I'm using these pots. In short, it's because they're squat, they're big, and they're like the big sumo wrestlers. You want a really low center of gravity because when these trellises are up here and you've got all that dragon fruit up on the top, you don't want them tipping over. And so 20-gallon pot is adequate. Bigger than this is even better. But you notice how they're much more squat than like the normal cylindrical style of a regular nursery pot. So I've got 5 of these for the 5 cultivars. I actually got 7 because I imagine that sometime I'll want to get some more. And now we just need to figure out where I want these placed before we start filling them. Over here, over there, let's check it out. Okay, I've got 2 spots that I'm considering. One is creating a dragon fruit alley right there, kind of parallel with the berry trellis. The other option I have is here on this concrete going along this path, being in front of these prunus, all of these pluots and plums and apriums and all that kind of stuff. Pros and cons. If they're on this part with the berry trellis, it's going to make it difficult for me to plant a second berry trellis, which we may end up doing. And also because the slope is happening over there, I would have to dig out some of the ground in order to make them flat. So I'm tending to think that I'm going to have them placed along here. I don't like to have to shade out or block out what's going on here with the plum, but this seems to make the most sense. It's the most flat, and I'm able to move them around more easily on this concrete and replace them if I need to. So I'm going to put my pots over here, then we're going to fill them. Something to keep in mind as you're planning where to put your dragon fruit is that dragon fruit like full sun. Now, they don't like the hottest part of the summer, those 95, 100, 105 degree days. And so you want to make sure that you protect them. I'm going to be using something like that shade cloth, 40% shade cloth, to help take some of that sun edge off of it. Okay, we've got our pots placed, and now we need to talk about filling those pots. When you look at a dragon fruit, what do you see? You think, cactus. And if you're like me, you go to the big box store and then you go and buy a cactus mix. Well, it turns out that a desert cactus has a lot different nutrient requirements than a tropical succulent like a dragon fruit. Dragon fruit needs a lot more organic material rich in nutrients than a desert cactus does. So what I'm using instead is this I picked up at the big box store. It's a quality potting mix, raised bed mix. Any kind of potting or raised bed mix ought to work well for you, but you want something that's higher in organic material, and this is going to work well. Now it's time to fill these containers, but we have a problem. As you can see, this pot holds way more material than one of these bags is going to cover. And so I've got an idea. I'm going to fill the bottom of these pots with rocks. There are 3 main reasons why I'm going to do that. One, having more weight at the lowest point possible is going to help to create a lower center of gravity that's going to help to stabilize these dragon fruit as they're out here. The second reason is they're going to obviously take up some area and some space that I'm not going to need to then fill with soil. It's going to create some nice drainage near those water holes at the bottom. And the third main reason is we have a million rocks. Have you seen on my other videos? Rocks everywhere. You can't even put a shovel in the ground without hitting 10 rocks. So that's another reason. It gives me another use for these rocks and I don't feel so bitter about them. Let's fill these guys up.
Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Are you a man? Are you a man's man? No, I'm talking about a real man's man. a guy who builds his own trellises to grow baby dragon fruit and has an addiction to Knight Rider paraphernalia. The type of man who's gonna get his hands dirty gardening, but also uses gloves when there's thorns. The kind of man who isn't afraid to buy a generic potting mix to save 30 cents so he can spend it on his lady and invest in a low-risk 30-year mutual fund that he can eventually retire with, unless there's some sort of economical downturn which is totally out of his hands that collapses the financial banking institutions and ruins us all. That took a turn. I don't know what I'm saying. Should probably stop listening to Alex Jones' podcasts. I think I need help.
So hitting this thing and agitating it helps some of that soil to go down into the rocks, fill up that space, because once water hits this, it's all going to go down there anyway. So doing this kind of fairly aggressively, hitting it, and then refilling the pot with some additional soil. So I used maybe a bag and a quarter where this would have easily taken 2 bags before. Now it's taken up with the space of the wood itself. It's held in place by that pinwheel. It's got those rocks on top of it, making this a pretty steady base. And this won't even wobble once this is watered in because all that soil is going to be holding this in place. Now all that's left to do is to plant the dragon fruit, bind it to the post, and water it in, and we're ready to go. American Beauty is going to be going right into the soil here, and so I want to dig a hole that is going to allow me to put the root ball in there. So I'm curious to see how this root ball holds together. This is the first dragon fruit that I've propagated directly. So I always hit the sides of this so that way it'll break up some of the soil that's there. Oh yes, we got roots all the way through. Yeah, baby. Ideally, this is going to be at the same level as the existing root ball. So I'm going to have soil planted as deep as the existing root ball is. The top of the soil should be level. I want this dragon fruit to be as close to this bar, to this post as possible. And so that means I'm going to move away all the soil that's right by the post. And I'm going to scooch the plant as close as I can because we're going to be anchoring it to this post. Okay, that's pretty good, pretty close. So I'm going to backfill around it and tamp it down. And that way I get a nice firm connection with the soil around it that hold it in place. Now all that's left to do is to tape this gardening tape on, water this in, and we'll be ready to go. I'm going to remove the old stake, cut off the old tape. One nice thing about this gardening tape is that it's going to allow this to expand as this grows. All right, you see here we have this being trained up through the middle. This is going to be the eventual growth of this, as we're going to train this so that it flops over the side, and any additional shoots are going to be trained up and over the side, and we're going to keep the rest of this dragon fruit pruned clean all the way up. So we really just want like one trunk, and then we want the top to become a canopy. When you plant a dragon fruit, you're going to inevitably get shoots coming off of the sides, these little nodes here. And rather than just cutting those off and discarding them, you can take those and plug those into the soil around this. And so that way I'm going to plug one here, one behind it, and one to the side of it. And that means I'm going to have a total of 4 dragon fruit plants all climbing this trellis and creating a beautiful canopy over the top. That'll also, believe it or not, create some balance in terms of weight. But you see that this thing is in here so solidly. The main reason for watering this in more than just watering the plant itself and giving it moisture is that watering it in removes all of those air bubbles. It's going to allow the soil to settle. I may need to come back with some additional garden soil or potting soil and put it over the top in case that root ball is kind of sticking out of the soil. But this is going to do a whole lot. We're going to really just water this until we see water coming out down near the bottom. You guys know I'm always sharing tools that are helpful. I was looking for some hose reels and they're so stinking expensive, $400 or $500 on Amazon. But I found this Giraffe Tools, a couple $100. Look how easy this is. There's your pro tip for the day. Okay, I've got this American Beauty soaking in here. 1 down, 4 more to go. I can't wait to try vine ripened dragon fruit. Not the stuff that they have at the store that's picked early. I want stuff that's gonna be sweet and flavorful, and that's what I'm counting on out of these fruit here. Well, hey, be curious to hear your thoughts on how I've done this. What would you have done differently? What cultivars should I plant next? I've got 2 more pots that may need planting. Whether you've got 1 dragon fruit that you're trying to put in a pot, 500. Till next time, stay busy.